Well, I worked as the camera production assistant on Showtime's Weeds. I'm friends with he was the DP for the majority of the show, and then he just turned into a director, so he's now directing episodes. And
DP being the director of photography?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I got to meet him and befriended him, and then he offered me this internship opportunity in the camera department, which is where I want to be, because I myself would like to be a director of photography. And so I spent roughly three and a half months in LA working on Weeds every day of the week, waking up nice and early and working wonderfully long hours. I had a great time. I met a lot of really cool people, and I'm just really excited to get back and then to start doing this as an actual job and not, being the unpaid gopher intern.
So tell me how you actually, obviously I know you said that you met the director of photography, who's Mike Trim. Because it's not everybody who gets to, do an internship like that on a show like that. It was more with you about networking, would you say?
Oh, it's absolutely about networking. Would you like me to elaborate?
Yes, please.
All right.
A shortened version.
Yeah, no. Well, it's absolutely about networking. I was introduced to Mike back in January of just this year, and he was in town at Juniata for a couple of days, and during that time, I was around him all the time and chatting with him, and then, as luck would have it, he ended up needing a ride from one airport to another, which was about 2 hours away, as a result of a snowstorm. So I was the one who was designated as the chauffeur, and so I had to pick him up from State College and then drive him 2 hours down to Harrisburg so that he could catch a flight to go back home to LA. And so in those 2 hours, he and I really got to chat with each other and talk about where he's been and where he's going, and then what I want to do and where I want to go and that kind of deal. And at the end of the car ride, he and I get out of the car, and we're saying goodbyes, and he tells me, when I go back to LA, I'm going to look for an internship for you. And then a couple of weeks later, I get a phone call, and it's Mike saying that he has a possibility for me, but he just needs to know if I can do it, if I'm able to take it. And so I kind of clear things up with my parents as fast as possible, and I shoot him back a message saying, absolutely, I'm good to go for this. And so I don't hear from him for a couple of weeks, and then he informs me that I received the internship. And I think that was maybe a month and a half to 2 months before I had to leave. And so I had to scramble and kind of get all of my life in order to get out to LA. And a lot of work, a lot of time, but just kind of knowing these people really helps, because once I got out there, then I met all these other people in the camera department, all these other people on set, and create relationships with them, and there's definitely a couple people who I met out there who I strongly believe are going to be really, really good for me in the future when I head back out to LA.
Yeah, because that's one of the most important things, isn't it, in that business? It's not always what you know, it's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, people recommend you for a job, but you aren't going to get the job if that person didn't know you and your work to begin with.
Yeah. So what would you say the most useful thing that you learned or that you got out of that experience? Did you, pick up any extra skills that you didn't have before, or... Man, the true answer to that question is way too long for this interview, but it's so hard to pick out any kind of particular thing that I learned that would be like most important. Would you just say the whole experience, do you think?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, the whole experience from beginning to end, just because it's such a life-changing experience. It was an incredible shift in perspective, an incredible gain in knowledge. I mean, the most useful is probably being on set and set etiquette and just kind of how you are on set. That's arguably the most important thing to learn if you're going into this industry. But to say that that's the most important and everything is down below it, it's kind of difficult to say that. I mean, everything is just so on par with everything else. Because it's all, everything that I learned was important. Everything that I learned was really good information.
And what was your favourite memory of working out there? You know, the favourite thing that happened on set, or? I mean, I imagine there must have been a lot of fun stuff that happened while you were out there.
Yeah, well, I can at least immediately give you something offset.
Mm-hmm.
Is offset, oh gosh, there's actually, I mean, again, there's just so many things. Offset, my favorite things, I got a helicopter ride around Los Angeles for an hour, because I know I got to meet the helicopter pilot, and he's also a camera operator on Parks and Recreation and The Office. And so that kind of changed my perspective on some other things that I want to do extracurricularly in my life, and I want to be a helicopter pilot, so that was pretty big. And then also, I got to party at Hunter Parrish's house, and he plays the older brother in Weeds, and so he had an after party after the rap party, and I got to go there and hang out, and that was just a really cool experience to be at the star's house.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Now, as far as on set, there actually was one day of production in particular. It was the second to last episode. It was a Friday, and we were on location in downtown LA all day. And I think I was awake for roughly 17 hours. I sat down for about 45 minutes total throughout the entire day. Otherwise, I was on my feet constantly. We were on the street, on the sidewalks, and then at night we were in a back alley shooting. So we were just all over the place downtown, and it was the longest production day of my life. I was the most exhausted I'd ever been, but I also had never had so much fun, and I had never felt so rewarding compared to any other day. It was just the best day of production. I wouldn't want to do it every day, but it's nice to have those couple of production days where you're just like, this is so awesome, and this is why I do this.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? If you're working in that kind of industry, you've got, you know, every day is going to be different. It's not like going to the office every day, doing the same old thing. You know,
yeah,
I mean, you're doing really awesome stuff.
That's the most appealing aspect to me, is I realized years ago that the last thing I ever wanted to be was a guy stuck in an office. And this really showed me that this is what I want to do. I mean, that realization is true. Every day you come in, and it's something different. Even if you're on the same set, even if you're still working on the same... Well, actually, I guess we usually manage to do scenes, like, completely before we wrap the day. But sometimes scenes will leak into other days. But everything's pretty much different every day. And some days you'll be on location, some days you'll be on stage. You're not cooped up in this office. You're in this ridiculously monstrous soundstage, or you're on location somewhere. And, you know, there's better days and there's worse days, but on the whole, it's just the fact that it's so different and diverse and interesting. You know, it was a lot of fun, and I couldn't imagine really doing anything else.
So what was it like living in LA? Because I know you were staying in Santa Monica, which is obviously right, you know, by the beach. So, I mean, it must have just been amazing being there for a whole summer.
It was. It was a really, really nice change coming from South Central Pennsylvania back to the West Coast. I had only visited California once, years ago, and since that trip, I always vowed to myself that I would move back. And this is just kind of reaffirming that, yeah, this is what I want to do. So, living in LA, and living in Santa Monica area in particular, is great, just because you are by the ocean. I mean, I was 3 miles. If I really wanted to, I could have walked there. Otherwise, it's a 10-minute drive. So the weather was basically beautiful all the time. Traffic is usually, it's pretty much what you hear about. So that's not the best, but for me it wasn't that bad because I was always going to work and then coming home at off hours. So I'd either be leaving at like 6 in the morning, or I'd be coming back at 8 at night. So traffic really wasn't that bad for me. But there were times like during the day when I had to drive somewhere, like on a weekend, and I definitely got a nice taste of the LA traffic. But I love it. I love the climate. I love the views. I loved everything about Los Angeles. And what's kind of funny is that when I first went to California years ago, I was only in LA for maybe 2 days, and here I was for 3.5 months. And I love the whole state, but LA definitely has a place in my heart.
Yeah, I have to say I agree with you there. I know a lot of people say they don't like LA, they prefer San Francisco. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love San Francisco, but I absolutely love LA, hence my future trip coming up very shortly.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just a great place, and being on the West Coast, sunshine, beaches, Hollywood, what more could you ask for? So tell me about the future. Obviously, you're going to be graduating next year. I'm assuming that you haven't just done this and you've thought, oh no, I've had my jolly into film now. I'm going to go and be an accountant or something.
Oh God, yeah, shoot me. Once I graduate, I'm going to be taking a trip to Europe, actually, Germany in particular, after I graduate, because it's part of a class that I'm going to end up taking, and two, because I've always wanted to. And what better time to do it than after I graduate?
Of course,
but
yeah.
As soon as I come back, I will be figuring out what's going to happen. I'm going to make the move to LA, because there's really no other place. There are other locations in the U.S. that I could move to, but I don't have connections, and it's just not as appealing. So LA is where I want to be, so LA is where I'm going to go.
And that's where you have to put yourself, yeah.
Exactly. So I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to, exercise my contacts, and hopefully that somebody can throw me a bone, and I'm going to start working my way up. And my goal is to be a camera operator in less than 5 years, and then be a director of photography in less than 10.
Well, I have every faith in you because I've seen your work, and I know, that you are excellent at what you do. So, the American Dream Team will be behind you every step of the way. And hopefully you'll be back next summer or before then, with a bit of luck, letting us know how you're getting on. And definitely. So anyway, thank you ever so much for your time. It's been great to speak to you again and to hear how things are going. But just to show it is possible, folks. Follow your dreams and do what you want to do.